afternoon, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Now live at 4 on this Thursday. Danica Lewis in for Susan one more day. Nice day out today.
Yeah, really nice. A very stereotypical fall day yet again. A little cooler.
It is a little cooler.
It is a little chilly.
We have some developing news in the case of a 2017 fatal Janesville stabbing. The judges ordered a mistrial. We'll hear why and what happens next.
Also topping the news today, we are hearing for the first time from the Senate Majority Leader about why he thinks a special session on gun control won't lead to any changes.
Plus, President Trump is rallying Republicans to challenge the impeachment inquiry. We'll have the latest details from Washington.
Let's, though, first get a look outside at that really nice day. We are looking at a cornfield. Very stereotypical fall kind of weather and look here. Ooh, we get a little mix
it's a montage.
Here. It is a montage. I like it, though. That wind obviously dying down. Those windmills aren't going as fast. Sunny but chilly tomorrow. Dana Fulton out on the weather patio to share a little bit more, maybe elaborate a little bit more on that. Dana?
Yes, I liked the stereotypical fall just in the Midwest. The cornfields are there. We have the windmills. If a cow walked by in the shot, then we really would have just hit all the markers. Some cheese curds rolling by, too. Right now, we do have a little bit of cloud coverage, unfortunately, building on in. We had some sun this morning, but now we're looking at a mostly cloudy sky through the rest of the evening. So it's really going to sit there for the next few hours. Thankfully, it's not bringing any rain. Doppler track is quiet throughout the northern Midwest. It's a little chilly outside right now, though. About 45, so a light jacket, definitely a good idea if you're heading on out. 41 towards the Dells. Compared to this time yesterday, it is a bit of a temperature drop. With that cold front swinging through last night, it pulled our temps on down. Now, from here on out, we're just going to continue to slide. Once the sun sets, we drop into the 30s. And we're looking at temperatures dropping into the 20s overnight for the first time in about 6 months. But we will take a closer look, of course, at what is ahead in just a few minutes. Right now, I do want to take a look at what's going on the roadways. Thankfully, we don't have any accidents to report throughout southern Wisconsin. Things do look okay at this time. Around Janesville, no major delays downtown. 39 and 90 seems to be fairly clear. 26 minutes to get from Janesville to the Beltline. From Sauk City to Middleton, it'll be 17 minutes. And from Sun Prairie to downtown this evening, a quick 15-minute commute.
Right, we will check back in a few minutes. Thank you, Dana.
We do want to start with some breaking news into the Channel 3000 Alert Center this afternoon. The Astros have fired Assistant General Manager Brandon Taubman, that is. This is all related to comments he made to female reporters before Game 6 of the AL Championship Series. Now, 3 female reporters heard him shouting, quote, "Thank God we got Usuna," who had been suspended for domestic violence. The Houston Astros play the Nationals in Game 3 of the World Series tomorrow night, but a big development for that team this afternoon. Next at 4, a Rock County court case has been ruled a mistrial after the jury was unable to reach a unanimous decision.
Julian Colosa, that's it. Colosa was facing charges of first-degree intentional homicide. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter was present for the full trial and joins us now with the reason things couldn't be worked out. Adam?
Yeah, well, Danica and Mark, jurors were just simply not able to make agreement with one another as to whether Julian Colazo was guilty. Court bailiff describing their deliberation as hostile, even toxic, said at one point verbal threats were made between jurors during deliberation. Now, Colazo was facing first-degree intentional homicide charges in the stabbing death of Christine Scatia Lubeck, who was found stabbed more than 30 times in her Janesville home in December 2017. After court was dismissed today, I asked Colazo's attorney, Jeff Jensen, how he felt about the idea of a retrial.
There is the danger that if the state does the same thing they did, we do the same thing we did, we'll end up with the same result. So I know that they'll be thinking of what they can do differently, and I'll have to be thinking about what we can do differently.
Case will have to start all over again in December with an entirely new jury and the defense attempting to prove whether or not it was Colazo rather than Nicole Kazar, who was described to the court as his girlfriend, who was guilty of the crime.
A lot going on here, certainly a lot to cover, and now we do it all over again. Thank you, Adam.
Beloit police say the suspect and the victim in the shooting last night knew each other. A 19-year-old was shot in a car in the 1200 block of Vine Street around 6:30 p.m., a few blocks west of Beloit Memorial High School. The victim was hospitalized for multiple gunshot wounds. Police are asking anyone who has security cameras in the area to check them.
2 people are injured after a rollover semi-crash on the interstate this morning. This happened on I-39 north of Madison. State Patrol officials now say an SUV hit a deer. That vehicle lost power and the semi-driver didn't see them at the time. That means it hit the SUV, that is, rolling onto its side. Both drivers are expected to be okay. Republicans in the state Senate are reacting to the governor's call for a special session on gun control.
The governor called for the session on Monday to look at both universal background checks or a red flag bill. Eric Franke joins us with the latest word from Senate leadership. Eric?
Yeah, Mark and Danica, a little more background information from Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald today, who says there's no support to even discuss these issues. Fitzgerald says that discussion has been going on for 6 weeks on guns in anticipation of this call by the governor. Fitzgerald says he conducted dialogue within Republican members of the Senate to see if there was something that maybe they'd be comfortable with when it comes to background checks or red flag bills that would take away weapons from people deemed by a judge to be a threat to themselves or others. And he says they are both non-starters.
I just don't see any momentum. So it was very easy, because of the dialogue we had already had with members, to go back in there and say, no, we'll gavel it in because we're required to, but we'll also gavel out.
Fitzgerald and Assembly Speaker Robin Vos have expressed concern that it would infringe on Second Amendment rights. The governor and Democrats point to a recent Marquette Law School poll that shows some 80% of Wisconsinites support ideas like universal background checks and red flag bills. But at this point, Republicans plan to simply gavel in and then immediately adjourn that special session. Mark, Danica?
Certainly a conversation we'll continue to follow. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
President Trump is turning to fellow Republicans to push back against the Democratic-led impeachment inquiry. Senator Lindsey Graham announced a new resolution condemning House Democrats for conducting closed-door depositions as part of the impeachment inquiry. President Trump has been pushing for Republicans to fight back against the impeachment investigation, and Graham says he has 41 co-sponsors for the resolution.
What I'm trying to tell Republicans out there, that it is okay for the Republican Party to insist that Donald Trump be treated fairly.
When the investigation is done, there'll be public hearings. That's how it's always been done.
The Washington Post is reporting that Democrats could begin public hearings as part of the impeachment inquiry as soon as mid-November. A live look right now at the U.S. Capitol, where Democratic Representative Elijah Cummings is lying in state. The Maryland congressman died last week at the age of 68. A formal service was held this morning for members of Congress, and now the public is allowed to pay its respects. Cummings had represented Maryland's 7th District for more than 20 years. His funeral will be held tomorrow at the Baptist Church in Baltimore that Cummings attended for nearly 4 decades. Former President Barack Obama will attend and deliver remarks at the event.
Hundreds of people are out of their homes after authorities in California forced them to evacuate. The Kincaid wildfire sparked in the Sonoma County wine country last night, starting around 400 acres and has now grown to 10,000 acres. More than 550 homes are under mandatory evacuation orders. Winds up to 75 miles per hour are making it difficult for firefighters as well. This is also a rural area, so cattle have been trapped. It's unclear what started the fire. It stands at 0% containment, though, and there are concerns about the flames making it to bigger communities. Parents, there's another warning about e-cigarettes to share with you this afternoon as the CDC reports more than 100 new cases of vaping-related lung injuries across the country. The health agency says all but one state, plus D.C. and the Virgin Islands, are all dealing with a total of 1,600 cases. That's 125 more cases than last week. Most reported cases involve products that contain THC and are sold on the streets, so it's hard to tell what's really in them. 34 people have died as a result of their illnesses.
More local news now. A group from Wisconsin is in South Burlington, Vermont, to learn more about how that area is dealing with the F-35 fighter planes. Last month, the first of 2 of what will become 20 F-35s arrived at the airport there to be flown by the Air National Guard. Wisconsin State Representative Chris Taylor says people in the Madison area are, quote, really struggling to know what this means. The main concern has been additional noise, which could make hundreds of north side homes uninhabitable. A Vermont Air National Guard spokesman says they've received fewer noise complaints than expected. And there's more to come at 4. The UW's School of Music is ready to swing open its doors to its new Hamel Music Center.
Speaking of noise, they're holding a grand opening this weekend, and Mark says you can't even hear the noise from inside. We'll give you an exclusive look inside that new $55 million facility coming up later.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Wisconsin Aluminum Foundry in Manitowoc joins the list of numerous companies that have been affected now by the trade war with China. The foundry announced a voluntary layoff for 8% of its workforce. U.S. manufacturing activity in September overall fell to its lowest point in a decade. That's according to the Institute of Supply Management Index. Despite promises that helped President Trump win industrial belt states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, those states have all lost manufacturing jobs over the last few months.
The grounding of the Boeing 737 MAX will cost American and Southwest Airlines at least $1 billion between them, and that price tag is expected to climb. Southwest has 31 of the troubled jets, more than any other Boeing customer. American Airlines has 24. Boeing has already set aside $5 billion to compensate airline customers because of the grounding, and Southwest said it's continuing to negotiate to get compensation for lost revenue and profits. It was a mixed day on Wall Street. The Dow Industrials lost 28 points, closing at 26,805. The NASDAQ Composite Index added 66, and the S&P 500 added 5.
All right, it's that time of week. Back with us to talk about what's happening in the 608 this weekend is Madison Magazine Associate Editor Joel Patton. Joel, always good to see you.
Welcome back. Thanks. Well, it is Halloween season. We all know what that means.
It means Freak Fest.
Yes, it does.
That's the live music and Halloween costume party that fills State Street with tens of thousands of people, mostly UW students, and most of them in costume. But that means the State Street Saturday night will be blocked off, alcohol-free, with several bands playing on 3 stages before the headliners alt-rock band Gin Blossoms and rapper Lil Yachty taking over. Freak Fest has successfully replaced, for I think the last 13 years, the wilder and out-of-control Halloween of years past, and put a dance party atmosphere in its place. And that wraps up after 1 a.m., about bar time.
But you need a ticket to get in?
Right.
You do.
Before 7:30, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
All right. And there's something else happening that sounds a little less freaky, or a different kind of freaky.
Yeah, you know, you could call it freaky. The idea that on tour would be Roy Orbison and Buddy Holly.
That would be freaky.
Yeah, and they're making a stop Friday night at the Orpheum Theater. These 2 rockers died decades ago, if you're not mistaken remembering that. So what you'll see if you go are actually holograms of both men performing with a real band and backup singers. But honestly, that's the closest you're going to get to actually seeing Holly sing Peggy Sue, and That'll Be the Day, and Orbison croon Only the Lonely and Oh Pretty Woman. But interestingly enough, the children of both singers have apparently endorsed the Rock and Roll Dream Tour. So it should be more respectful than creepy.
It's still strange.
You would think.
It is
strange.
different. I've never seen anything like that before.
the real
It'd be
band.
I was
interesting.
watching videos of it, and it's something.
Wow. All right, so fast forward to today a little bit more, have something a little more modern if you like some music.
Yes, indeed. At Overture Hall tomorrow night is Black Violin. Now, this is a combination of hip-hop and classical music. Now, Black Violin upends expectations, as you can imagine, with those 2 genres combining. It's at its core a classically trained African-American violin and viola duo backed by a drummer and a DJ. Now, this unique act has collaborated with everyone from Kanye West, Wu-Tang Clan, Aerosmith, and Tom Petty. So that is probably really worth checking out.
Yeah, I think it is too. And what about people that are young or young at heart, or sci-fi fans, or?
Well, yeah, if you're
just like wearing a cape, I don't know.
Exactly. That's what I do when I go home. But
be that as it may.
Yeah, or more like my kids at a certain age. The place to be this weekend is Wizard World Madison at the Alliant Energy Center. It's now in its 5th year. The event features appearances this year. It'll include 4 cast members of TV's Smallville, including Tom Welling, who played Clark Kent and Superman, 2 veterans of Firefly and the spin-off film Serenity, as well as stars of The Princess Bride and Gremlins.
Nice.
Yeah, and they'll be on panels and available for autographed, as will many comic book artists and video game makers. And there's also, of course, a massive amount of merchandise available.
And a lot of costumes. Speaking of costumes,
that's
I
the
don't
best
know.
part.
State Street or Wizard World?
Isn't the Hulk there too?
I'm certainly there will be at least half a dozen Hulks.
Good answer, Joel. I like that.
Sounds like fun. Lots to do for this big Halloween weekend.
Exactly.
Even though Halloween's next week.
Yeah.
Right.
You always got to celebrate. Why not keep the
early.
party? Yeah. Start the party early.
Joel, thank you. Check it all out in the current edition of Madison Magazine. all the events going on in the area.
There is more local news ahead. SSM Health is partnering with a local nonprofit to lower prescription drug prices. That's what we want to hear. How it could help your wallet next on News 3 Now at 5.
Take a look at this. Police video shows how a car crash saved an Arizona family from being run over. The family of 3 had the right of way and began crossing the Phoenix intersection. Suddenly, a Jeep comes speeding through the red light. At the same time, a car with the right of way hits the Jeep, narrowly saving the family. The family escaped unharmed. The car's driver sustained non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the Jeep's driver was under the influence. He was arrested and has not yet pled on a slew of charges. But
wow.
I mean, in a way, thank God. Right?
Right.
I mean,
you never know.
I saw that yesterday and did exactly what Dana did, just gasp.
That's
unbelievable.
Terrifying.
Yep.
Oh,
They are lucky.
very lucky, very lucky. Oh,
All right.
too many things happen.
That's right. There's a lot going on there. Let's slow things down.
Slow things down. So weather. We're just going to get some sun here for a little bit this evening. Right now, we still have a mostly cloudy sky, but I did see a few pockets of sunshine popping through on our sky cam. Unfortunately, the pockets have poofed away. Hoping for a mostly sunny sky tomorrow.
All these scientific terms.
I know. I got a degree for that. We'll poof your forecast right after the break. Overall, a mostly cloudy sky right now, but there is, as I mentioned, just a few pockets of sunshine. Here's a look with our Edgewater sky cam. You can see there are a few breaks in the clouds. Unfortunately, though, we aren't really going to become mostly clear until overnight. So this evening, plan on the cloud coverage staying around. It really should give us a nice sunset, though. We'll get a little bit of color, especially in those broken spots for the clouds coming on through. But that mostly clear sky overnight is really going to help our temperatures fall heading into Friday morning. Right now, Doppler track is quiet. Of course, in the last 24 hours, we picked up some rain last night on top of the rain that we've already seen this month, well above average. Some areas in Dane County did get over an inch of accumulation, though, as you can see, a lot of areas around Lone Mark really didn't see much rain come through at all. Most of southern Wisconsin barely picking up 1/10 of an inch. That's the ideal situation. If we can keep those rainfall totals small and short, that's really where we need to be for the rest of the month. Right now, Doppler track is going to stay quiet through the rest of the day as we have high pressure off to the west, keeping things mostly clear. That cold front that brought our shower chances hasn't rebounded. It's going to continue to drive east, bringing a few showers down towards the southern edge of the Midwest, and then some showers along the Atlantic coast heading into Friday. But with that high pressure building in, that means we're going to stay mostly clear tonight and for Friday and for most of Saturday. A really nice pattern for the next few days. It'll be a little cool outside, but at least we get the sunshine back for tomorrow. A breeze from the northwest right now as that high pressure continues to travel east, though. Our breeze is going to shift for tomorrow morning. Plan on a little southerly flow, a light breeze, though, for Friday afternoon. That's going to help our temperatures climb just a little more mid to upper 40s rather than mid to low 40s like today for our highs. Saturday, strong southern breeze, so temperatures early in the day will be close to freezing, and then later on in the day, a little closer to the mid to low 50s for those afternoon highs. By Saturday night, though, our next opportunity for some showers will develop. Right now, just a slight chance for some showers Saturday night into Sunday morning. It does seem like most of that moisture is going to stay to the south and east, but not ruling out the chance for some light showers to develop heading into early on Sunday. Overnight temperatures will fall quite a bit once we hit sunset just after 6 o'clock. We fall through the 20s. Right now, it does look like we're going to land close to 27 in Madison early on tomorrow morning. That's the first time that we've been in the 20s in about 6 months for us. So it's been a little bit of time. Definitely plan on laying up early tomorrow. In the afternoon, we'll be in the mid to upper 40s. So just a degree or two warmer than today. We fall again heading into Saturday morning, closer to freezing, though, early in the day. And then the cloud coverage is really going to build in later in the afternoon. We become mostly cloudy later in the day on Sunday with those high temperatures climbing to the mid to low 50s. Again, we did pick up a little bit of rain last night, just over 1/10 of an inch. So that puts us to almost 5 inches of rainfall for just October. We average under 2.5 inches, so we've almost doubled now, or more than doubled actually, what we should receive for the month. And we still have a full another week before we get through October. The ideal situation would be that we don't pick up any more rainfall, but it does seem likely that at least Saturday night heading into Sunday, we'll see a little bit of rain coming through. Over the next 12 hours, of course, we'll fall quite a bit overnight, a very steady slide on down just with that mostly cloudy sky, landing close to 27 for early tomorrow morning with a light breeze from the northwest. It's going to be colder outside tomorrow in the afternoon, still cool. Again, mid to upper 40s for those afternoon highs with a mostly sunny sky. It really won't feel too bad as long as you make sure you have your layers on. It won't be too windy outside in the afternoon either. Low 50s for Saturday and Sunday. Those shower chances, thankfully, just at night and early on Sunday, so it shouldn't interrupt your weekend plans too much. Monday staying dry, but our first chance for a little wintry mix, or at least widespread wintry mix, will come through for Monday night, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. That could bring a little more accumulation before we head into the end of October, of course. So that was, we'll be keeping a close eye, of course, on those accumulation totals and the fact that we might see a little snow accumulation to the north. Not so much a threat in Madison. As you notice, our temperatures will be a little too warm for any sort of accumulation. But Halloween right now looks nice and dry, which is important. It does seem like trick-or-treating time will be falling into the 30s, so plan ahead. Warm Halloween costumes, something with layers or a jacket would be a good idea.
Is it like 50 the normal high?
Yes, yes. So we're below average. Low 50s right now, so yes.
Wow.
And it's no good when the weekend low temperature is higher than the high temperature. Not great. Not great.
Need to flip it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Just my opinion. Thank you.
It's coming.
Yeah, it is coming, right?
Not here yet, though.
Ready or not.
Right.
And with the cold and flu season approaching, many Americans with fevers, coughs, and runny noses will be forced to make a decision. Go to work sick or stay home.
New research from the staffing firm Account Temps finds 90% of employees admit that they have come to the office with cold or flu symptoms. Most of those who reported to the office say they did so because they had too much work on their plate and didn't want to use sick time or felt pressure from their employer to come in.
When you think about, there are more jobs than skilled talent, it is conceivable that individuals do go to work because of limited resources within that company, as well as tight deadlines for the job that they have.
According to the study, bosses should set the example when sick by taking time off and encouraging employees to work from home. Researchers also suggest workers who feel sick think twice before pushing themselves too hard. They say the key is to relax, rest, and recharge.
I'd love to work from home.
I know.
Let's sit on a chair in pajamas, read the news.
Oh, yeah. We should start that program, Mark. You and I, we'll make a big deal, a big splash.
If you're sick, stay home. Don't get everybody else sick.
Please.
And get your flu shot.
Yes, absolutely. Still to come at 4, if you have driven on University Avenue over the past several years, you have seen the Hamel Music Center up on the UW campus and take shape.
Now, for the first time ever, we're giving you an inside look. The center's opening ceremony is this weekend, and we'll take you on a tour when Live at 4 continues.
The sun poofed back in, seemingly. You're looking live downtown at Madison here from the Edgewater Sky Cam. That sun really fighting to get out from those clouds, so try to enjoy it a little bit. A big weekend on the UW campus, particularly for the School of Music. The Hamill Music Center will be open to the public for the first time with a full weekend of opening celebrations.
The $55.8 million center was completely funded by private donations. The building on University Avenue puts the School of Music on a whole new plane. In a first ever look inside, we were given a tour by the director of the Mead-Witter School of Music, Susan C. Cook. We start in the two-story, 300-seat Collins Recital Hall, named after donors Paul and Carol Collins, who named the gift in honor of Paul's mother, Adele Stoppenbach Collins, who graduated from the School of Music in 1929 and instilled in Paul his love of music.
Paul Collins is just such an aficionado of chamber music. He and his wife both. They're very, very astute listeners and very involved both in the UK and in the US. And so it just seems so fitting for that chamber hall to be so beautiful and named for him and his mother.
The lobby.
The lobby.
This is very impressive.
Well, it is the way we welcome Madison and the rest of the world into our space. And it's also wonderful in that at the end of a show, we walk back out into the world.
So what are some of the highlights here?
First of all, this wonderful chandelier that was a gift from the class of 1965. It's made out of high-grade copper plumbing tubing.
And this staircase.
Beautiful staircase as well. We think of this as one of the signature elements here. Again, practical, way to get people up and down, way to have the lobby be 2 stories.
Purple.
Purple, because of our commitment to Wisconsin and the Wisconsin idea. What better way to signal that than to use the colors that are in the life cycle of the maple leaf? They go from that sort of yellow, orange, gold, and then go into the deep reds and into the purples as they go through their cycle. So that's what he used as the color palette for the whole building.
We're next to one of the busiest intersections in the city. It's dead quiet in here.
It is dead quiet in here. That was, again, central to what we wanted to do, was to have this be the best acoustic space possible. Each space here is its own concrete box within a larger concrete structure. A precast concrete wall, 12 inches thick, and then what they call an acoustical joint, which is a dead air space. So you have concrete and air and everything possible to keep the sounds out and to keep the sounds you want in.
I remember when this was being constructed, there was those circles on the side.
Yes.
They are the box within the box.
They're part of the box within the box.
All right, so we're in the lobby. We have rehearsal hall over here.
Let's check out the rehearsal hall. It's gorgeous. It's bigger than any of the rehearsal halls we've had before. It's got a wonderful damped sound. You feel how intimate the sound feels. But notice the fact, as the students have said, it's like watching a silent film. You can't hear the cars.
It's incredible how insulated this is.
You can't hear the buses go by. You can't hear the sirens.
The entrance to the main hall.
So again, here we are in this beautiful purple space, but the orange from the fall at our feet, and the circles, design elements again, and also for better acoustics.
Even on the ceiling.
Even on the ceiling, to break up the sound waves.
All right, let's go inside. Wow. Susan, this is breathtaking.
We love it already.
What's this design feature here called?
Again, it's all for the acoustic, these curved spaces so that the sound waves break up in different ways, that they don't set up a back and forth that would be a problem. We have circles over there on each side that actually go into what we call the ears of this room. It's these big resonating chambers on the side. What this allows is a space that is incredibly flexible. It can be very, very resonant for voices and for brass instruments that want that kind of sound, so it can almost sound like you're in a wonderful European cathedral. But then you can bring down the draperies so that it becomes a drier space, which is better for some of the larger ensembles, though the string players can really hear themselves better.
It's really active right now.
It's very active right now. Ooh.
These chairs are interesting.
Yes, the chairs, of course, the upholstery was chosen by the architect, picks up the circle treatment. That's one of the design elements.
What does this building mean to the School of Music?
Tears come to my eyes. It means so much. I think the thing that I've heard that really stuck with me from one of the students, she commented on how wonderful it was to feel respected, that a space like this made you feel that what you were doing was worthwhile, that it made you feel like you were a part of the much larger mission of the university and, of course, the mission of just being a part of the cultural life of the world. And so to have something like this that has been entirely provided by donors through philanthropy, it feels like it's this wonderful Wisconsin project at its biggest understanding of that, the Wisconsin idea.
The Wisconsin idea
again,
in music.
In music, yep, absolutely.
It is spectacular.
That's exactly the word I was going to use. It is truly a wonderful space. I can't wait to get in it myself.
And this is the weekend to do it. As we mentioned, you can check it out this weekend. Things kick off at 6:45 tomorrow evening with a musical fanfare and a ribbon cutting, followed by a full concert at 7:30. There are events all weekend long. For a list, go to music.wisc.edu/events. Check it out.
Yeah. Wait, there's going to be music at this event?
I think so.
Yeah, I would think so too. I'd hope.
Still coming for the latest Marquette Law School poll is out.
It covers everything from impeachment to gun control to Democratic candidates for president, you name it. And poll director Charles Franklin, there he is, joins us next to break down the numbers. That's when Live at 4 continues.
No accidents to report right now, but the Beltline is getting a little busy. Here's a look at the Beltline right at John Nolan. Westbound side seems okay, but the eastbound side, of course, a little more congestion, a little more traffic. So do take a closer look. Those speeds are reduced, stretching all the way by 151 down to just about the teens, and then things finally pick back up a little bit around Park Street. From Park Street, getting on the westbound side, a little slow right now, but otherwise westbound looks just fine. Downtown Janesville should be good, and from 3990 from downtown all the way to the state line should be a smooth drive. From Janesville to the Beltline, it'll take you 26 minutes. Sauk City to Middleton at 15. And the drive from Sun Prairie to downtown's gotten a little longer than usual, about 20 minutes this evening. That's a quick look at traffic.
All right, Dana, thank you. Wisconsin voters believe 3 Democratic candidates could beat out President Trump in the 2020 election. That's according to the latest Marquette Law School poll released yesterday.
We want to welcome director of that poll, Charles Franklin, joining us now to talk a little bit more about the findings. They are vast, but let's start first with this issue of who might be able to beat the president on the Democratic side.
It's a fairly close race. Biden has a 6-point lead over Trump. Bernie Sanders is 2 points up, and Elizabeth Warren is 1 point up. Those last two are clearly inside the margin of error. And we did test Pete Buttigieg for the first time. He's 2 points behind Trump. So 3 of them are inside the margin of error, and Biden a little outside of that, but still just a 6-point lead. He was ahead by 9 in August, so it's tightened just a little bit.
That's what I was going to ask. Is this kind of expected the way it's going, or anything surprise you in that regard?
Well, I think it's really early in the process, and so, you know, these are telling us a little bit about the race, but they're hardly predictions of where we'll end up. What we saw in the Democratic primary side is that Biden stays in first place, but Warren moves up to second and Bernie falls to third, and then Buttigieg is fourth and the others are further down. So there's a little bit of change in that Democratic primary as well.
And Bernie won the last time in 2016.
He certainly did, but now going from second into third place, he's not as competitive as he was against Clinton, and ultimately, of course, winning in 2016 in the primary.
And what was the political makeup of the people you polled?
It's a registered voter sample of the state. It's about evenly balanced, 45% Republican, 44 Democratic. That's very close to the 45-45 split we've had on average over the last 2 years.
Okay.
And per usual, you covered a lot of ground, a lot of national and state issues as well. One of them being an important one in the election and otherwise to folks, that being gun control. What'd you see there?
Well, gun control is interesting. We've polled about it a lot. In this particular poll, we asked about a mandatory buyback of assault weapons, which has been proposed by Beto O'Rourke, among others in particular. There, a majority, over 50%, oppose that kind of buyback, with support down around 42% or so. But there's a huge partisan gap, just 13% of Republicans for it, but 77% among Democrats. But in August, when we asked about background checks and a red flag law, over 80% support that overall, and it's over 70% of Republicans that support both of those, and even higher for Democrats. So the point here is the gun issue is a complicated issue. There's some aspects of it where there's overwhelming support and it's truly bipartisan. There are other areas like the buyback where it's much less popular, a majority opposed, and huge partisan splits. And
the governor's using your numbers from that poll at 80% to call the special session.
Right. This is the argument that this is low-hanging fruit, that if 70+% of Republicans can agree that background checks are a good idea, why don't we do it?
Sure.
But this is partly a matter of the interest group politics that are involved. The National Rifle Association and pro-gun groups feel very strongly about any kind of restrictions on gun rights. And we see so far, at least, that Republican legislators are very reluctant to even do the things that big majorities say. The one other part is that when in the past we've asked, do you think these gun laws would be effective in reducing gun violence? It's a majority that think only modest effects, and a not trivial minority that thinks it would have pretty big effects. So I think part of the message from that is advocates for gun measures need to explain to the public why they would make a difference and try to bring the public along. And those who are opposed to them, to any kind of gun measures, would maybe should be pushed to tell us a little bit about what they're going to do about shootings in schools and shopping centers if they're not going to do these things that 80% of the public can agree with.
Sure.
In the end, I think a conversation about that is the best thing we can have for the public, but it's hard to have that conversation.
Yeah, so partisan.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the impeachment process that's going on right now.
Shift in opinion there. Back in April, at the end of the Mueller report, 26% favored impeachment hearings. Now it's 46%. So it's really pumped up over that time. However, 49% say we should not have hearings. So it's a close division, but a small plurality by 3 percentage points saying don't hold hearings yet. But the change that we see from April till now is really quite substantial. Also, we were in the field interviewing people a week ago before the latest round of testimony, and so this reflects the letter, which 40% say they've seen or read, and of those who've read, they're 9 points more supportive of doing hearings than those who haven't read, and there's no partisan difference in whether you've read or not. So that's a pretty telling thing, that understanding, learning a little bit about what's going on seems to boost support a little bit, 9 points for hearings.
But as you say, every day there's something else. It's hard to keep up with it.
It's a moving story. So when we're back in a month with next month's poll, how this has changed, whether support for hearings has gone up, stalled, or fallen off, will be a really interesting story.
It will be.
Yeah.
Interesting as usual. Charles, thank you.
A lot of information.
We'll see you in a month, if not before.
No, it's out.
All right.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back with the final check of your forecast.
Wait, ready, roll playback.
We saw a little poof of blue.
A poof. The sun's a
We've been
poof.
talking a lot about the poofs of clouds and sun.
Getting everyone up to speed.
Yeah.
There it is.
Just need to remind everyone what the heck we were talking about.
Here's a look from our WISC-TV Skycam. Unfortunately, a lot of cloud coverage right now. Thankfully, that cloud coverage is not going to bring any rain like we had last night. It is a little cool outside, though. Close to 45 in Madison, 46 in Janesville. That's as warm as it's going to be for this evening compared to this time yesterday. It is a bit of a drop. And of course, we're just going to continue to fall. Sunset is just after 6 o'clock, and we'll be falling through the 30s overnight, landing in the upper 20s for our overnight lows. for the first time in about 6 months. It's been quite some time since we've been in the 20s. A little cool start to your Friday.
Bundle up.
Yep, Rude Awakening.
Thank you. Tomorrow here on Live Before, Michael Bruno goes backstage at Sun Prairie High School's production of Footloose.
And Jay Wilson will have a live preview from Columbus, Ohio, as the Badgers get ready to take on the Buckeyes. On Wisconsin, and on to the break.